Okay, class, we are going to go over the warm-up that we had on September 23rd. That would be Thursday, September 23rd. All right, so the first problem on the warm-up was a solving problem. It looked to me like many of you forgot DC ma'am. Don't call me after midnight. D stands for distribute. C, combine like terms. M, move all the x's to one side. A, add or subtract to move the numbers to the other side. And finally, multiply or divide to isolate x. So let's see how this works in a real problem. So I'm going to write down over here as a reminder to myself, don't call me after midnight. So I'm writing that down, and I recommend that you do too. All right, so here I am. Let me get it a little bit smaller. And I don't see any parentheses, so I don't have to do distribution. I'm wondering if I need to combine like terms, so I look over here on this side, and I notice that this 3 has an x, but the 5 does not, so they are not like terms. Same situation over here. The 7 has an x, but this 7 does not, so they are not like terms. I don't have to do any combination of like terms. So that brings me to M. Move all the x's over to the same side. I think I am going to subtract 7x from both sides. That gives me negative 4x minus 5, because I'm going to use my calculator to calculate 3 minus 7 is equal to 7. Okay, now that I have that, I'm done with that. I'm going to add or subtract to move all the numbers to the other side. Well, I already have this 7 over here, but I got this 5 over here, this negative 5. I need to add that to both sides. That's going to give me negative 4x is equal to 12. And again, you are going to use your calculator to do this math work if you have trouble with that. All right, check, that's done. Now my last step is to multiply or divide to isolate the x. Well, I got negative 4 times x here. That's not subtraction, people. That's multiplication here. So to undo multiplication, I'm going to divide both sides by 4. And what do I have left? This negative 4 and negative 4 cancel out, and I have x is equal to negative 3. Alrighty, that would be my answer. Now, how would I check that answer? I'm going to plug negative 3 into both sides of the equation and make sure it makes the equation true. Now, I have already done that here. My left side of the equation was 3x minus 5. So every place I see x, I plug in negative 3, and I get negative 14. The other side of the equation was 7x plus 7, so I plug negative 3 into that. 7 times negative 3 plus 7 gives me negative 14. Well, negative 14 is equal to negative 14. That makes the equation true, so this is the right answer. Now let's take a look at the second problem, the domain and range of this graph. Now the thing I want you to remember is that domain is horizontal. It goes from left to right. And range is vertical. It goes from bottom to top. All right, now that I know that, and I remember Dixieroid, if you don't, memorize this. Also, memorize DC ma'am and what each of the letters mean. Now that I know x is horizontal, I know I'm looking left to right for my domain. So I'm going to go down here and draw a line right down here through the x-axis, and I see that it crosses the x-axis at negative 9. And then I'm going to do the same thing over here at the end of the graph. And I see that it touches the graph at 2. All right, now I got to write my inequality. Well, the first part of that is easy. The second part of that is easy. I'm always going to write the inequalities going this way. When I have a graph with two boundaries, I'm going to do that. The only question is, are these greater than or equal, or less than or equal, or just less than or just greater than? So here we go. I'm looking at the 2, and I noticed it has a closed circle. That means it could be 2, so it could be equal. Now I'm looking at the -9. I see it has an open circle. That means it will never be -9, so it stays like this. Now how do you read this? You read this, x is greater than -9 and less than 2. This is my domain. I know it is because it has an x in there. Now let's go look top to bottom. I'm going to start at the bottom and see that if I draw a line through this graph right across, I think I'm touching the y-axis at -6. And if I go to the top of the graph and just draw a line, I think I'm touching it at 3. Okay, great. Now I got my bottom and my top. I need to put my variable in the middle. Domain is always y. And I'm going to put my inequalities facing the same direction, always this direction. And then I'm going to analyze whether or not I need to put a line underneath for equal. So let's take a look at the bottom. At the bottom here, I have a solid circle. So that means it could be equal to -6. It could also be greater than -6 as long as it's less than 3. When I get to the top boundary, though, I see that it's an open circle, so that means it's just going to be y is less than. It will never be equal. This is my range. That's how you analyze domain and range of a graph. Please study this, take notes on this video, and let me know if you have any questions. Bye-bye.